With only 2 days left until Halloween, Max sat in his room, surrounded by various bits and pieces of failed costume attempts. While his friends had fancy store-bought costumes, superhero suits, monster masks, and princess dresses, Max's family couldn't afford such luxuries this year. His best friend Tommy was going as a robot in a shiny silver costume, and Sarah next door had a beautiful butterfly outfit with light-up wings. Max looked at the cardboard boxes, old sheets, and craft supplies scattered around his room and sighed. What can I possibly make from all this? He wondered, picking up an empty cereal box. His mom had always said that creativity was more valuable than money, but right now, Max wasn't so sure. Then he remembered what his art teacher, Ms. Johnson, always said. Sometimes the best ideas come from looking at things differently. Max stood up and studied his room with fresh eyes. The cardboard boxes weren't just boxes anymore. They were possibilities. He began to work, letting his imagination run wild. The large box from his mom's new microwave became the base. Old newspaper and paste created texture. Paint from his art set added color. Hours passed as Max cut, glued, and decorated. When his little sister Jenny peeked in, she gasped. "What are you making?" she asked, eyes wide with curiosity. "It's a surprise," Max replied, now fully absorbed in his creation. He worked through dinner. His mom brought him a sandwich, and well into the evening. When something didn't work, he tried a different approach. When he ran out of materials, he got creative with substitutes. The next morning, Max continued his project. He added details using buttons from his mom's sewing box, created patterns with markers, and used old Christmas lights to add sparkle. His dad's old hat became an essential part of the ensemble. Finally, on Halloween evening, Max emerged from his room. His parents and sister gathered in the hallway, curious to see what he'd been working on so diligently. What they saw amazed them. Max had created the most extraordinary costume they'd ever seen. He was the living art gallery. The cardboard boxes had been transformed into a wearable museum, complete with famous paintings he'd recreated using household items. The front of his costume displayed his version of Van Gogh's Starry Night, made from swirled blue fabric and yellow bottle caps. One side showed the Mona Lisa drawn with markers and decorated with real leaves for a 3D effect. The back featured a Jackson Pollock-inspired splash painting made with carefully controlled paint drips. Christmas lights illuminated each masterpiece, and his dad's old hat had become a museum guard's cap. Max had even created a tiny audio tour using his old tape recorder, which played his descriptions of each artwork through a speaker he'd attached to the costume. When Max joined his friends for trick-or-treating, their jaws dropped. Tommy's robot costume might have been store-bought, but it couldn't compare to Max's walking art museum. At every house, people asked him to stop and turn around slowly so they could admire all the details. "This is the most creative costume I've ever seen," declared Mrs. Peterson, the art teacher who lived down the street. She gave Max an extra handful of candy and asked if she could take a photo for the school's art room. By the end of the night, Max had not only collected more candy than ever before, but had also won the neighborhood's most original costume contest. The prize was a gift card to the local craft store, which made him smile. He was already thinking about next year's costume.